Hello all, welcome to the tutorials on photonic integrated circuits. So today we will be talking about numerical mode solutions that we were discussing in the last class. So we saw using numerical mode solver or the mode simulation software how we were able to do a directional coupler simulation. Basically we were able to simulate this region of the directional coupler using something known as variational FDTD solver in numerical. Okay, so let's continue our discussion on that. So today, let's see how we can simulate for a ring resonator. So as you all know, a ring resonator is basically a photonic resonator in which we have a waveguide. So this is say my waveguide, and then a ring is coupled to this waveguide, and there might be another waveguide also. So a ring is coupled to two waveguides. So this is also a waveguide ring. So what happens is when we send light in one of these waveguides, the light is partially coupled into the ring, and the rest of it goes straight through the waveguide. So the resonator is such that it is frequency selective. So only certain frequencies will couple efficiently, and then it can the other waveguide can collect some of this light that comes out from here, and yeah, the resonant frequencies will keep resonating in the ring. So if I'm sending a broad like multiple frequencies through this, so if this is the intensity and this is my lambda, this is the input profile. At the output, what I will expect is something like, so some of these resonant wavelengths will get coupled in the ring resonator. So the quantities of interest here are the Q factor of these resonances and the FSR, and yeah, and in general how much is the extension and all those things. Okay, and which wavelengths are we able to couple to the resonator. Okay, all these are the interesting factors that we want to know before we go ahead and fabricate such a device, right? So for that we need to do simulations. Luckily, lucky for us, we don't have to always do all these simulations, even the directional coupler simulation from scratch. Most of the basic building blocks of photonic integrated circuits are already available as examples in the ANSYS numerical software. So if you just go on the net and type numerical ring resonator, you will find this web page, on which they have already, if you sign in, they have already given um, certain example files. So you can download the ring resonator mode simulation file. So there are also other files like FDTD file and others. So for now you can just download the mode simulation file, and then you will be directed to this. So this is the mode simulation file that I have downloaded directly from the website. So as you can see now, I don't have to define the geometry. I don't have to put the source, monitors, everything. All this thing is already done. So I can directly go ahead and change the parameters of the ring resonator according to my liking and see the results. So say, so this is silicon on oxide. Um, yeah, let's try and change some of the parameters of the ring resonator. So this is the ring resonator here. So this rectangle is the SiO2. Okay, this is the two bus waveguides and the resonator. So this rectangle is the first bus waveguide, second, and then this is nothing but the ring. Okay, so this is the coupler waveguides, and these are the rings. Okay, So let's go to the ring resonator structure object and edit this. So the coupler length is now currently set to 0. 0 means we are only doing point coupling. So we can slightly alter this. Let's say I want it to be 100 nanometers, 200 nanometers, say 200 nanometers, and apply. Now you see the coupling region, coupling length has increased. So in order to see the, similarly we can also change the gap, radius, refractive index. So the material we have currently chosen is silicon. So silicon refractive index 3.5, based on that they have given. Also we can, since we are already choosing the material, if we take the information from the material stack. Yeah, base width. Base width is basically the width of the waveguide and the height of the waveguide. So these also we can change based on our requirements. Say I want a waveguide of height 220 nanometers because my stack is of those dimensions, and width we can keep say zero point 0.5. Apply. See, all the waveguides it changed at once. That is the use of having the structure object. However, when we did this, if you notice, the source and the monitors are not no more at the center of the waveguide. So we need to change that now. We'll do it because those are outside the structure. So we need to be careful all the time. Whenever we are editing the structure, we should make sure that the things outside the structure are also aligned. Right? So I changed the waveguide dimensions to my preference. I also have changed the coupling gap, coupling length. Also, we can change the gap if we want, say 250 nanometers. So this will depend on the fabrication, or say in some situations you might not have the capacity to have a 100 nanometer gap. It might not resolve while you are fabricating it. So like that, based on your constraints, you can give the parameters and then simulate for the ring. Okay. So everything else is fine. Hit apply and okay. So yeah, now we have to move the source, and this is the, not this monitor, through monitor. Just zoom in, edit. So in the geometry we need to edit the y coordinate. So our entire waveguide width we had set it to be I think 450 or 500. I just now set it and I forgot. Let's just try it out. Let me move this by 1. Yeah, it was 0.45. Now let's zoom out. This has to go down, right? So the y we will make it minus 3.85 and hit OK. Okay. Okay, for some reason this did not move. Yeah. Now I think everything is fine except the FTTD. Wait a minute. Yeah. So now we can run the simulation. So this simulation is taking 1 minute to run. However, so this is a very small ring radius. Okay, so this radius is somewhere around 1 or 2 microns, I guess. So usually when we fabricate rings, we are fabricating from 5 microns, 10 microns. So when we go for higher ring radii, the losses will be low. But to simulate higher ring radii in this kind of setup is a bit challenging, because then the time required for the simulation increases pretty rapidly. So yeah, so the simulation region will grow very fast as you go on increasing the radius of the ring, and that will make the uh, simulation very time consuming. Also, you will have to increase the so this is currently simulation time is 5000. So as the ring radii goes on increasing, since the ring is also a time dependent device, right? So the light has to travel one entire circle, only then it will see another uh, the pulse coming out of here. Again second circle, and then we'll see one more pulse. So there is also a time dependent response. To see that, we will have to keep the time simulation time pretty large. So because of that, the simulations take a lot of time to run. So now let's see the movie. Okay. So it won't run in this. Let me go to the folder. So we see that the light is coming from the top port. And then some part of it is starting to get coupled in the ring. But the coupling here is very small, as you see. So, so there are a couple of things that we can do to increase the coupling. We can increase the length of coupling length, or we can reduce the gap. But then say we are limited by how much gap we can go to. Let's see what can be done. Also, we have to see the full profile. Visualize electric field. See, so most of the light went straight. Hardly any light came at the drop port, and there was some light that was coupled in the ring. So that is what you understand by looking at this full profile monitor. Then what else? What else? Yeah. Then let's go ahead and look at the throughput. Sorry. You see this? So we see that some of the wavelengths are being so some of the wavelengths, for some of the wavelengths, the losses are high. What does that mean? So that means that those wavelengths are getting coupled in my ring. Let's look at the drop port. Although we saw that the losses were high, we still see some power at the drop port. Okay. See the time response of the ring. So as I told it, the ring will have a time response. It's like the first pulse came, second pulse. So the pulse will keep rotating in the ring and it will come at after a few fraction of a picosecond. It will go one round, come out, one another round, come out, one another round, come out. See. So yeah, all these interesting things you can do. You can also run a sweep. Edit sweep for say coupling length. Choose the object coupling length of a ring resonator. Properties. Uh, LC. LC is the coupling length from 0 to say 10 micron. Sorry. And add what result do you want to see as a function of coupling length. Say I want to see the throughput. Throughput response. In the throughput, I'll select the transmission. Okay, let's run the sweep. So, as you can see, the problem here, the simulation region is smaller than required. So, we need to increase the expand for the simulation region. Let me make it 15. Okay. So that's why it's always advised to first animate it, which I did not do right now. Also, we need, so now you can see that we have to even move our monitors and source. Okay. So the source I'll move edit object x is minus 4.5 right now. We make it minus 6. Okay. Drop will also be minus 6. So we accidentally changed the y. The throughput will be plus 6. So by doing this, we'll know for what coupling length we'll get which resonant wavelength and yeah, all those things. When will the coupling be maximum? So anytime you want to go ahead and do your simulation for a device, you can always look up the ANSYS website if they have an example similar to that, because that will help you out in uh, the initial setup. And yeah. So there is one more error. So the green cross, we have to always keep it at a higher refractive index position. So because the ring dimensions are changing, so increase the object. So this is 5000. I'll make it 1000 for now, because otherwise it will take a lot of time. Geometry expand and increase to 20. Okay. So it changed from 1 minute 10 seconds to 10 seconds. So that is the effect of the simulation time, because it has to then simulate for that much time. So the simulation is done. Let's see the results. So it has sliced across lambda, but we want lambda to be our x-axis and the coupling length to be the slice. So you see, um, for 9, coupling length of 9, you see the difference between the wavelengths that are passing and the wavelengths that are not passing. See, the extension is pretty high, so that is quite desirable. Let's try putting. Only 20% of light is coupling to the other arm, as you can see. Let's see the movie. Oh, oh, that's the problem. Yeah. So the source has got extended into the ring. We need to geometry, and the Y span has to be smaller. Even one is fine actually. Let's try running again. Now we see light coupling into the ring waveguide. I hope the time we gave is enough for it to reach all the way here. See, it's coupling into the back waveguide also. Again, some part of it will get coupled here. So if you put a time measuring, like say if you have an oscilloscope here which can resolve picoseconds of delays, you will see that first a pulse will arrive that corresponds to the original pulse. Then after a few picoseconds, another pulse will arrive that corresponds to the pulse that has gone through one turn through the ring. So this is the second pulse. So like that it will keep on going. So yeah, so we were able to successfully simulate a ring resonator. We were able to change certain parameters, and then based on that, we were able to see the output response. But in general, we don't want to be restricted by the size of the simulation, right? So we want to be able to simulate even larger simulations. So for that, what we usually do is we will simulate just the coupler region. We'll simulate the waveguide separately, the coupler separately, and then we'll combine all the results from all these simulations into a single circuit level simulation, and that is done using a tool known as numerical interconnect, and we will be talking about that in the next class. So in the next class we'll talk about how we can combine different device simulations into an interconnect simulation. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you.